Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Somewhere between science and superstition.
We have such sights to show you.
Strange Eons. Welcome to Strange Eons Radio. That's Eric over there.
Hello.
That's Vanessa over there.
Hello.
I'm Kelly, and I have a screaming headache, guys. So I just want this to be a document. If I just suddenly keel over from an aneurysm or something, I want everybody to know that I did it. When they say, well, at least he died doing something he loved, that is not the case with me.
Shut up.
He died something he kind of enjoyed.
vaguely liked, I guess. I don't have anything better going on. That's what's going on your tombstone.
Speaking of dark things, I have some news that may distress you guys a little bit.
Oh, goody.
God.
You know that my neighbors across from me are a lovely old couple, very old, 84 and 94.
Yeah.
And I came home one day and the woman was fiddling around with her lock. And I noticed that she had a brand new big lock on the door.
Oh.
And she said, "Everything okay over there?" And I said, "Yeah, everything okay over there?" And she goes, "Well, we had someone break in the middle of the night on Tuesday."
Oh my
shit.
God.
Yeah.
God damn.
Walked in their place. She said that this person seemed surprised to see that there was anybody there.
Yeah.
And he fled, and he didn't take anything. But he also didn't break in. And I was like, how did he get in? Did you forget to lock the door? And she said, "I never have before, but maybe." So there's maybe a thought that this could have been a renter from before that maybe had a key or something, although they've been here for quite a while. So, yeah, that's the world we are in now. Because I was thinking,
awful.
I was like, how awful. You're never going to feel comfortable going to bed again. I told her if there is ever any problem, just start pounding on the wall and I will come over. I will assume if you're pounding on the wall, it is an emergency. I didn't tell her. Also, I hope you want whoever's in there dead because I'm coming in fully loaded and pissed off. So,
And I've been practicing.
yes.
That's right. Yes.
Oh.
But how awful is that?
Yes.
That's really.
We had a
really
weird one,
bad.
nowhere near as bad as that, but a very weird theft in our building. Where we were outside units and there's a staircase and each staircase has a fire extinguisher on it. Someone took the fire extinguisher.
Oh.
Nobody.
Safety first.
We've talked to everybody who's involved. There's nobody used it. Nobody had anything. And I noticed the other ones are still in the other staircase. So it's like,
Did you go and steal one of those for your own?
That sounds like a kid thing. I don't know.
yeah, it's got a cover on it, and the cover was left by the side, just leaning against the wall. What the hell is this?
It's a gentle.
That's the kind of theft that happens. As long as that's as bad as the theft that gets around our building,
Sure.
I'm okay with.
Well,
Somebody coming into the place, no thanks.
Not cool.
I have like the awful situation of living in a very well-to-do neighborhood, which by the way, I do not feel like I belong in at all. It's always awkward. And I'm on the next door, like website / app or whatever.
That's such a terrible site.
It's not a good thing to be on. And so every day I get about 5 to 10 messages of people saying somebody stole something off my porch. Somebody broke into my car. Somebody stole my. Yeah, so and it's all around me. And luckily, my building is a little bit crap. So I've not personally had a problem, but I'm just like, please, oh God, don't break in here. I have cats. I don't want them to get out. There's just too much.
Well, you remember that a lot of the reason I moved from my old place was because of the people around there.
Sure.
And one of the things I had was a door bar that, jams up against a doorknob so that somebody can't break in the door. So I've been using that. But I also thought next time I go to the range, I'm just going to keep my target and then I'm going to tape it up on the door that faces the closet door that faces the open. And so maybe they'll go, oh, that guy's actually a pretty good shot. Maybe not this place.
Maybe not here.
That's not a bad idea. That's
So
thinking.
I'll
that's
make one for both of you guys if you'd also like to hang it in your windows.
Just put it right on my door. It'll be fine.
I can make my own.
Just put a sticker on the front. Guns, guns, guns.
Guns. You guys, speaking of guns, I watched The Kingsman.
Oh my gosh, how was it? I've heard terrible things.
You, Eric?
For some reason, it's one I just haven't watched, but I have a feeling if I did, I would enjoy it a lot.
I think you would too. I liked it. I didn't like it as much as The Kingsmen.
Sure.
And I wasn't sure that it needed to be made. In fact, if they were going to do it, I would have rather just seen another Kingsmen movie.
Yeah, I really liked the Men movies. At least the first one a lot. The second one was fine. I would love to see another one in that world.
Yeah. But this one, Ray Fiennes, he's great.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's really a really great cast. It does that thing that I think this is. Oh no, I didn't bother to do any research on this. It feels like it's a Mark Miller movie or a.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah.
And it's got one of those things. There's something in it that happens that I was not expecting at all, and I was like, "Oh, now what?" And and then it goes from there. And so I really enjoyed that about it because I don't think that happens in a movie very often, where you didn't kind of know what you were getting into.
Yeah.
It's on HBO and Hulu.
Ah.
And I liked it actually.
Huh. I'll have to check that out. I made my way to the movie theater yet again. Not nearly as much this year as
did you see?
2 years ago. I went and saw Licorice Pizza.
Oh, okay.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I kept hearing good stuff and everyone's, really excited about it.
Yeah.
I liked it just fine. I don't think it was like the best movie of the year. Like a lot of people are really, really in love with this film. I think that it's really a fun movie that takes place in an era, just like that director's other stuff. It feels like, it's, I don't know, it's an interesting take. It's, fun characters, really, really, really solid acting from some people we haven't seen before. But as far as story goes, it doesn't really, it just feels like a slice of life.
It is, if I remember correctly, it's about a person making a movie?
No.
Oh, okay.
No. It's a kid who's a child star and his various adventures that he gets up to. There's a girl who is kind of going nowhere with her life, and they meet each other, kind of bump into each other, and he convinces her to start hanging out with him, and they develop this really interesting relationship.
Okay.
He's 15 and she's 22, 23.
All right. And it's set in the 70s or something?
Yeah.
Maybe that was what made me go, I need to watch this.
Yeah, the 70s. That part I think is super fun. Super fun as far as just, you get, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting his name. Bradley Cooper in it as a really weird random role. It's super great to see in. There's some great moments, but it really isn't like a narrative structure that I just don't think it should like win a bunch of awards.
Right.
But it's a fun ride.
Nice. Well, with so many getting nominated nowadays, it was like 10, I think.
Oh yeah, 10.
I think that's in the best picture group.
I'm sure.
Let's interrupt Eric for a minute and just talk about this. Do we care about the Oscars this year?
Oh.
Or any year anymore?
I hate them.
The Oscars seem to have fully jumped the shark. They are just they can't figure out if they want to be populist or if they want to be critical and trying to appeal to the most people, failing miserably at it. It's just, I'm still curious sometimes to see what shows up, but nowhere near like I have in the past. Like Dean and I used to make a work to try to see all of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we didn't do that at all last year. She's like, I thought we did. I looked at the movies going, yeah, we definitely did not. Because I don't even recognize
I didn't even watch the Oscars last year.
No, did I?
I'm just not.
Absolutely not.
Not interested in it anymore. And I hate to say it, I missed the MTV Movie Awards. That was a lot more fun.
Even the Nickelodeon Awards were better. The Kids' Choice Awards were more fun. Yeah, I think.
Are those the ones that give away a surfboard as the award?
I don't.
Kids' Choice Awards. That's a weird one. Yeah. It's like, here's your award, a full-size surfboard. Okay, thanks.
Fantastic. I feel like the Oscars have been getting worse and worse. There used to be this whole idea about prestige and red carpets and what are they wearing, and we're going to make a whole night out of it. And now it's just like, well, they're pretentious and they really don't know what they're doing. And honestly, one of my old bosses was one of the Oscar what are they called? Like judges or whatever.
Oscar voter.
Yeah. And she was the worst human being, had no knowledge of films whatsoever. And then she used to give me the discs she was sent, and one time asked me to make copies for her friends. So my idea about who's voting on these is pretty like, I'm not interested in what these people care about. Yeah. They're shitheads.
Also, the world has gotten kind of shitty lately, and how do I feel about a bunch of super wealthy people patting themselves on the back? And it's like, not that interested.
Yeah, and films that just happen to be able to market themselves and happen to be able to get distribution deals. You know, like it just, the whole thing really
I think that's
reeks.
part of the problem too, is there is so much stuff to pull from now. I mean, you used to go and you, even just 20 years ago, you're just pulling from what was in a theater.
Yeah.
And you know, that was it. You didn't have options of, well, this movie was just on Netflix or HBO and it was stunningly good. What do we do? Do we nominate that? Do we ignore that? Is that an Emmy? Is that an Oscar? I think there's just all kinds of weird growing pains going through it. And I don't think they know how to grow out of being what they were. So it's going the way the Grammys went years and years ago, where it just became the great honest award show is the Billboard award show. Like, here, you sold the most stuff. Here's your award.
There you go. Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense. I just hate that the Oscars have no room for joy. Like they lump together comedy and musical, and they've got like just
the Golden Globes does comedy and musical.
Oh, they don't even have. They probably don't even have it. They don't give a flying F about genre. You know, like there's just I don't know. I don't need to be depressed all the time, guys. I saw Power of the Dog. I did my work. Just leave me alone.
Okay. I was just curious how we all felt about this.
I assume you don't like it that much.
I have a weird relationship with awards for art anyway, because it seems like, you know, okay, well, some people love something that I hate, and which person is right, and how do you decide how to give somebody an award for that?
Oh, sure.
But also, I love it when I get one. So it's hard to...
That's true. It doesn't suck to have a short or whatever win an award.
Yeah.
I think they are silly, but I'm very happy when I win one.
My website does say award-winning editor. I'm very proud of that. Mm-hmm.
Well, I watched something that'll never get an Oscar nomination or anything like that. It was just some weird random documentary on YouTube, the story of the 80s slasher craze.
Oh, okay.
And I got to the end of it and I'm going, how the hell did I end up watching all of this?
Slow night.
Because it's just one of those kind of dozens of documentaries out there that's very specifically on 80s slasher movies. So very little new ground was tread. It's just like, okay, this is interesting. If you really love this stuff, that's actually the name of it, the story of the 80s slasher craze. So, you know, go find it on YouTube if you like. So the Oscar intro was perfect because I really didn't have much to say about that.
Well, I also watched something that I haven't heard you guys talk about, and it's not exactly our genre, and I know that Vanessa won't like it because it's
you
comedy.
Always say this. Oh, well, maybe.
It is a series on Netflix called Murderville.
I did not see this.
I want to see this one. I know what you're doing.
It's hit or miss, but when it hits hard. It is Will Arnett as a, I think his name is Terry Seattle. He's a police officer, and every episode he has to solve a murder case, but also every episode he is given a celebrity partner, and the rest of the show, they are not given the script, so they have to improv everything.
I've heard about this. I've heard it's incredible.
I have seen one episode.
Oh, you have?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
It was freaking great.
Was that the...
Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah, I knew you'd go for Marshawn Lynch first. Well, I don't think that's the best episode.
I had a hard time with it. I didn't even finish watching the first one.
Conan one?
Yeah. I've never been I know there are people that love him like more than anything, but his style of humor is never... I think he's funny, but it's not... Maybe he doesn't improv well or something, but it's like he sounds like he's trying to actually be part of this show in a very serious way. And that's why I liked Marshawn's, because he was not.
Right. I will say that I was surprised at how funny it was, but I did not think he was particularly good improv guy. But I did think, why can't I think of his name?
Will Arnett?
No, I'm going to say it wrong. I'm going to sound like an asshole. Kumail Nanjiani. Thank you.
Thank you, brain.
Yes, thank you.
Got
I have a
it, man.
headache, you guys. I've got a tumor. So Kumail Nanjiani, who I think is a very funny comedian, I thought his episode was the best, and he improv'd the best. And also my favorite part is when they crack each other up and they try not to act like they're laughing.
That is definitely
So
a solid thing.
Marshawn seemed more like that. It seems like that's what he is most of the time, where he is that jokey kind of guy.
Yeah.
Who is pretty funny, but yeah, he definitely wasn't really playing a role.
Also, he's not very good at putting clues together.
No. Oh, I'll go check out that, guys, because that one seems like it's absolutely dependent on who's in that room with him.
What a crazy pitch this must have been too.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess it's based on a British comedy series.
Of course.
Oh, sure. That sounds perfect.
Yeah. So I liked it.
Wonder if there's a British one with Ricky Gervais or something.
I feel like Ricky Gervais just straight up moved to the US and does not hang out in England anymore. He's just so often out here. Well, I know that last week we talked about Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I'd said I hadn't seen it. It was because there was one night when I had to choose between two things, and I did not choose it, and now I'm stuck in a hole. I finally started watching Archive 81.
Okay.
I'm 3 episodes in. It's really freaking me out. And I'm really worried that they're going to introduce aliens at some point, to the point where I'm like squiggling in my chair. I don't know that they are, but I'm just squiggling like, please don't, please don't, please don't. I can't take it. I'm going to have to finish this series, and then everyone's going to get abducted and they'll never come back again. And I don't know. I don't know what is happening.
I will say nothing about it because it sounds like you're enjoying the hell out of it.
I am. And he has the coolest job of all time to like rescue tapes and like digitize them. And as somebody who has done a lot of digitizing, especially early on in my career in film, I'm just like, that's so cool. That's so cool. I had that deck. I know what that looks like. Oh,
that's cool. I mean, I knew you could archive film, the nitrates and all this stuff on film. I didn't really think of recovering mini DV tapes. I mean, she's using a camera that's kind of like the one we used for a while.
But you can use one of those. I actually have one of those as a VCR to use as an ingestion machine, which is why I held on to mine, even though I have no use for it. But yeah, no, it's very cool. They have a setup really similar to what I used to use at Technicolor. So I'm kind of sure those are INX machines, but it's fine. It's all good.
Sure.
It's so cool.
We'll go with that.
I will say that I enjoyed it very much. The ending, this is a series that tells you exactly what's going on at the end.
Okay.
And I was like, oh,
yeah.
I would have liked a little more mystery. I mean, we're going to go into season 2, but I didn't need to know everything.
Right, exactly.
Interesting. Okay.
That's a good point.
Yeah. Well, I'm in for the ride. And that means, unfortunately, nothing else gets to be watched because every time I sit down, I'm like, I got to watch another episode.
Yep. Yeah, I think Peacemaker will probably be like that for me soon. I think Dina may have lost interest in it. So if she has, then I'm diving in.
Yeah.
I've just got the one thing because this was another week of Da Vinci training. So I had 4 to 5 hours a day of the color page in Da Vinci, which is wow.
Yeah.
No wonder it's an industry standard, man.
Oh, yeah.
When she started, the teacher started to dive into some of the deep stuff it does. And so she kept going, I had no idea it had such a strong denoise function and some other things that it does really well. So yeah, it's really cool.
That sounds so good.
Which the denoise and a few other things I learned are going to be great for Star Wars work.
Ah, very cool.
So, very, very good stuff, man.
That's incredible.
We are not making a Star Wars movie, just so everybody knows.
Right. Good point.
We did a documentary on the people who stood in line for episode 1 20 years ago now.
Yeah.
22
1999.
years ago. 23 years ago?
We shot that.
Weird.
Yeah. And I think the plan is to cut it up and put it up on YouTube as episodes, right?
Yes. Yeah. Clean it up, get some new stuff with the interviewers. it'll be kind of a mind fuck for some of the younger people. And they realize people stood in line to buy tickets for a month.
Camped.
Yeah.
Camped, yep.
Yeah.
RVs, camp sites, all that stuff is out there. It's really interesting.
What did the Cinerama do? Because they were still screening other things.
There's a parking lot next to Cinerama at that time,
I
which is now a
remember it
building.
around the back.
So they actually came up with a really cool idea. The people who put on the line was the Seattle Star Wars Society, I think.
Yes. Yep.
And they would just kind of record what time you got there, and you'd be
Oh.
given a number, and then you could roam around in this parking lot. So it was just a bunch of trailers and tents and everything. They set up a outdoor movie screen and were screening Star
Oh
Wars
my
movies,
God.
and
It was really cool.
like live music showed up
Yeah.
one night while we were there doing Star Wars songs. It was
Oh my
really
God.
neat. It's a neat little doc.
Yeah.
That's
It's
really fun.
and a example of what is never going to happen again.
Yeah.
The way the world is now, that will never happen.
Yeah. I can't see it happening.
It sounds incredible. That sounds like something that will be really, really fun to watch as it comes out.
I have found out that my buddy Phil, who was our intro into that group and everything, he is a regular listener of the show.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Hello,
Hi,
Phil.
Yeah, he's always texting me and asking me, "Hey, have you guys talked about this?" And all this stuff. And I'm like, "Hey, whose show is this, buddy?"
Oh,
Is it break time?
Yeah.
Let's take a break. I'm going to go saw my head off.
Okay.
And when we come back, we are talking about houses that are not what they appear.
dun, dun.
This is the story of a house, not any ordinary house, but a house where the family plot leads through a creaking front door, where spooky rooms stretch, and all foolish mortals are welcome. A house known as the Haunted Mansion.
Those creaking the tombstones quake. Happy haunts materialize. And begin to vocalize. Grim ghosts come out to socialize.
Even with 999 grim grinning ghosts, there's room for 1,000. Any volunteers?
And we're back. Vanessa, this was your pick. Can you tell us exactly what we're talking about again?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are talking about houses that are not what they appear. So whether that's a house that changes shape, or it's a sentient house, or just something weird is going on with the house, ideally not just haunted, because that's easy. So for this, there are so many fun options of wonky houses, but there was a film that had come out recently that I had missed, and I thought it might be cool to check out because it reminded me a lot of the book House of Leaves. And that is the film You Should Have Left.
Come away with me. If I don't get out of here.
For a while, I'm gonna go nuts.
I love you so much.
It's just the three of us. Just you and me and Ella.
Daddy, because you're old, you died before Mommy, right?
Hey, not that old.
It's so beautiful!
Wow.
I love this.
Wait.
What?
Listen. Be quiet. Hey.
There was a shadow on the wall.
I know it's fun, but it's time to sleep. Good night, honey. Jesus, you got enough switches? Does this wall look right to you?
What are you doing?
26 feet. 21. This room is 5 feet longer on the inside than it is on the outside.
How does that work?
It doesn't.
Anything happened yet?
Ella!
You chose this place, not me.
You sent me the link.
I absolutely did not. You sent it to me. Somebody wrote in my journal. Do you like it here?
No, do you?
I hate it.
Hello? Are you okay?
What is this place?
There was a different house before that one.
What sort of house?
Why do people hate Daddy so much?
The judge and the jury all found him innocent, but some people didn't believe him.
The house shows
He
me.
must be guilty of something.
People have always stayed in that house. Some don't leave. The right ones usually find the place. Or maybe it's the other way round. The place finds them.
I have not seen this.
Yeah,
Me
it's I think a lot of people have not seen it. It was a 2020 film. It was definitely one of those ones that was meant to come out in, I don't know, March of 2020.
Oh, sure.
Yes, and was postponed, and they were hoping to get a theater run, and in the end they just went ahead and threw it on streaming. So because of that, I know it's got a $4 million budget and no idea what the box office is. It hasn't been super well received, 41% from critics and 24% from audience on Rotten Tomatoes. Which, yeah, I kind of see. It's written and directed by David Cope, who has done 39 credits, all of which are incredible, including Jurassic Park, Spider-Man, Stir of Echoes. These are things he wrote on.
Okay, it's like, I don't think he directed Jurassic Park.
No. Death Becomes Her, Mission Impossible, The Mummy, and Kimmy, which recently was shot in Seattle and just came out. And he's actually in production for Bride of Frankenstein remake. So apparently that's coming down the pipe. We shall see.
Yeah, it's been enough Frankenstein ones, I guess,
Time to get a bride. This film is based on a book by Daniel Kellman of the same name. It's produced by Jason Blum with Blumhouse Pictures, as well as Kevin Bacon put some producing power behind it because it's starring Kevin Bacon. He's been in 103 things, including things that we have mentioned, talked about, briefed on, and our audience generally would know here, including Friday the 13th, Hollow Man. If you have not listened to the Hollow Man episode, that was, I think, very fun. I had a good time. He's also from Footloose, 45 episodes of The Following, and soon to be in a Toxic Avenger movie.
Man, that's going to be a weird movie, man.
Yeah.
What? Wow.
Also starring Amanda Seyfried as Susanna. She's been in 62 things, including she started out in As the World Turns, Mean Girls, Mamma Mia, and of course we talked about Jennifer's Body. And I recently watched Dear John with her in it, which is kind of a weird film, but Nicholas Sparks. There you go. And last but not least, Avery Toohey Essex as Ella, who's been in 4 things. She is the child in this. She's been in pretty much nothing. 1 episode of Modern Family, 1 episode of 911 Lone Star. I guess they already have a spinoff series.
Yeah, they do.
Is it good?
Can be. It's entertaining.
And a film coming out called Good News. Now, the story is kind of interesting. We begin with a nightmare. The little girl feels like there's somebody in the house. Somebody seems to have come in. She hears this sort of clunk, clunk, clunk going up the stairs. She runs to her bedroom door, closes it, turns away, jumps into bed, and does not look at the door in fear, which I'm like, I would have done the opposite, but okay. And an old creepy man comes into her room, sits down on her bed, and starts to talk to her about the Bible. Then Kevin Bacon wakes up in a sweat. This is his nightmare. What does it mean? I'm sure that guy won't come back ever. Theo, which is played by Kevin Bacon, is a retired
Retired bacon.
A retired banker with a dark past. He's having some marital troubles with his much younger wife, Susanna Seyfried. He's finding himself having jealous fits over her film roles where she's like pretending to have sex, and is frustrated that she's constantly on her phone. He's also engaging with some kind of personal therapy app on his phone. It's kind of this like, I don't know, podcast. He's trying to work through past anger issues. What is he working through? It's hard to know. Together, they share a young daughter, Ella, who they both adore, but he feels a particularly strong bond with. Susanna is offered a role in the UK, and Theo proposes that they actually go out there early, rent a house in the country, and spend some quality time together. She agrees, and they book a definitely not Airbnb version of something to rent the house through. And the building itself it's really an interesting, beautiful home. It's this sort of modernist, almost brutalist looking countryside house in the middle of Wales. It's got like a lot of glass and a lot of cement. As soon as they arrive, things, of course, start to get strange. They notice this house seems enormous on the inside compared to what they thought they saw on the outside. They often find new hallways and rooms that they hadn't seen before, but it's the first day, it's just a interestingly built place. And Ella's nightmares, as well as Theo's, begin to get much worse in this house. Theo is now dreaming about weird things being in the basement, including the old man from the start. They get a strange feeling that something is really off here, which is, of course, confirmed by the local people in the village who really don't offer hardly any help when he's like, oh, I'm staying in this place. And the guy's like, interesting. He's like, what does that mean? He's like, I don't know. Have you met Stelter yet? No. And then he gives him a drafting triangle. It's very weird. He's like, use this if you need to measure for right angles. They also say that this house there used to be another house where this one was not too long before. From that point, things get real wacky. We have diaries that warn him to leave and then later say it's too late. And I don't mean any diary. I mean his diary in big scrawling letters. He sits down to open it and he's like, I don't think I put that. There are Polaroids in the laundry room of like him and his family sleeping and at various moments.
That's not enough to leave?
I am equally shocked.
Okay.
Yeah, no kidding.
There is a door in the office that appears and disappears, but he kind of thinks this happened in a dream. So he's like, oh, what a weird dream I had. He's reenacting the past in some of his dreams, including a dead woman in a bathtub. The basement is showing him also weird things like his daughter dead in horrific ways. He also time seems to be traveling differently. So at one point, his wife is hanging out in bed and she's like, yeah, we got to watch this latest episode of blah, blah, blah. He's like, okay, I'm going to just go turn out the lights. He goes and turns out some lights. And when he gets back, it's 5 hours later. But he doesn't look at the clock. Only we know. So he's like, really? You couldn't wait up? Like, come on. Gets into bed. There are missing pictures on walls that later end up appearing while they are in the room, which is very weird. And neither of them appear to have actually booked this place. So as they discuss, hey, you booked this place. I didn't book this place. You did, in the middle of an argument. Susanna and Theo get into a big fight when he discovers she has a second phone and is having an affair. And what is one of the most honest I'm having an affair conversations in a movie I have ever seen. He's like, you have a second phone. Who's this guy? Well, it's this guy I'm sleeping with. What? Get out. It's like really frank. It's
we
almost
don't want
refreshing.
to draw this scene out with any drama or conflict.
They did not. They were just like, we're here. Deal with it. He tells her leave, and he says she has no right to take their daughter, so the daughter is going to stay with him in this house. And once she gets out of there, him and his daughter start kind of randomly doing experiments on the house. They're sort of bored and want to figure out some of the weird things that's going on here. He uses the triangle to discover that right in a space of about a foot apart on a wall, one has a right angle and one does not. They pour water on the floor and discover that it moves strangely in two opposite directions. And then he measures the outside versus the inside of the house and discovers that there's about 6 additional feet on the inside. The two are separated in a really weird way and can't seem to find each other. And something sinister is definitely keeping them apart. Probably Stettler. They attempt to escape at one point on foot when they do find each other, but it's so cold and dark outside, and they suddenly discover that they are back where they started. So they have to go back into the house and try to leave the next morning. They are yet again tricked into separating. And it is at this point, we get into a little bit of spoiler territory here. He discovers that perhaps it is his own sins that are keeping him there, and that actually his daughter can leave, but he must stay. The next morning, he puts his daughter in the car, and he's like, all right, I'm going to spend the rest of eternity in this house. Bye. Basically, this is just a giant heaven-hell allegory, this whole film. The upstairs, it's really kind of interesting. The upstairs is clearly heaven. That's where his daughter and his wife both sleep. They are the happiest moments he has in this house. The downstairs is his greatest fears and his darkest secrets. There's mention of how it used to have a tower, and then the shopkeep talks about how the devil keeps building a tower and God keeps knocking it down, but then the devil just makes it again. Stettler is probably Satan. He also quotes the Bible a lot. And the shopkeep mentions that people never leave because the house collects souls and calls people there. So this film is such a mix. God, the good moments are the scares. There are some really genuinely interesting, freaky moments when this house is just shifting, when things don't make sense, a fun use of space and time. The nods towards religion are kind of fascinating. It also has some really good humor in it. Like the frankness of it is not only refreshing, but like at one point he tries to visit his wife on set, and a PA stops him with the walkie-talkie. He's like, "Sorry, man, you're not on the sheet." And he's like, "I'm her husband. She asked me to come here." And then he's like, "All right, quiet on set. I'm sorry, we're rolling, man. We're rolling." And so he has to just stand there silently, and all of a sudden he can hear in the background, and they're just both stood there awkwardly. He's like, it's like, all right. And then just the shopkeeper moving. He goes to the shop, and the shopkeeper has to go and get him each item, and he does it like the pace of a sloth. And he's like, "Okay, I'm gonna need some butter, eggs, bread." And the guy goes and gets some butter and brings it back. He's like, "What else?" "Eggs." Goes exactly back to the next spot, gets the eggs, brings it back. So that's really fun. I don't know. The bad, it has a weak ass ending. The logic sucks. It is never explained. Like everything that happens is interesting, but there's no reason for it. At one point, the house refuses to have its lights turned off. So as he's going around turning off the lights, it turns on all the ones from the rooms that he wasn't in. But why? Why are right angles important? Why are there Polaroids being taken? Like, what does that mean? Why is the old guy there? Like, why is the old guy there previously before he leaves? He does end up writing the first note to himself because time moves strangely. So in the diary, the first note that says, "You need to leave now," he did write, but then there's another note that says, "It's too late," that he did not write. So there's just a lot of weird, dumb, not explained stuff. Probably because it was a book. Probably because it was a book that was adapted into a film, and there's something more going on that they do not explore. Trivia. It was shot in Wales and New Jersey. Kevin Bacon actually replaced Nicolas Cage on the film.
Whoa.
Interesting.
Which would have been a hell of a movie.
Tonal change, I would imagine.
A little bit different. Previously, Kevin Bacon had worked with the director David Cope on Stir of Echoes. Amanda Seyfried is 27 years younger than Kevin Bacon, which luckily the film does note the age gap. So they're clear about this. And in its first weekend, this film was the second most rented on Fandango Now and the iTunes Store. So that's
you can rent movies on Fandango.
Apparently, there's Fandango Now.
Well, as you were describing this, I was like, this sounds kind of cool.
Yeah.
But then it sounds like it wasn't all that cool.
It would have been so solid if they had just stuck the landing or the ending, or they had something more as to the reason why things are happening.
Right.
This is probably a film where maybe it's underexplained, where they really focus in on his faults and the reason why he needs to suffer, but not actually explain why the house is doing any of the things it's doing. I feel like there could be a really interesting story there, or like exploring why time moves differently in different parts. Just anything.
Yeah. Ideas.
Yeah. Well, it sounds a little frustrating, but I got to say I am curious.
You're curious.
Yeah.
I would say, I mean, it's a pretty quick watch, so feel free.
And I really like Stir of Echoes. And that Stir of Echoes is freaking great.
Yeah.
So that intrigues. Reno 911 there. Rob Lowe is the chief. That's why it's good.
In 911 Texas?
Yeah. Lone Star.
Lone Star.
You put Rob Lowe in it, I'll watch it.
Rob Lowe is
Star.
incredible. Absolutely.
Well, I definitely went a decidedly different route. My pick is the 1981 House by the Cemetery.
Stephen, where are you? Please answer me. Steve!
In this house, what you don't know will hurt you. It was to be a getaway dream. It's becoming a runaway nightmare.
Do you see anything?
Some old steps going down.
He has been awaiting the arrival of his new guests. One by one, they are disappearing. One by bloody one.
No! No!
When you move to this house, before you get locked in,
There's someone in
read
here,
the fine print.
Mommy, hurry!
You may have just mortgaged your life. Due to the graphic nature of this film, no one under 18 will be admitted. House by the Cemetery.
So from last week, I've advanced 1 year. But this is one of Fulci's films. It was a Rotten Tomatoes of 45 critics, 48 crowd. So probably one of his higher rated films.
Yeah, I'm shocked.
It was, I love it when IMDb puts him in lira. His budget was $600 million. And the box office was $1.4 billion.
Wow, it did well.
Yeah. And I said, this is Lucio Fulci's. You might know him from The Gates of Hell, Zombie 2, I'll Kill Him and Return Alone, 3,000 Million Without an Elevator, and The Beyond.
Oh, yeah.
The writers were Elisa Briganti, wrote the story. Might recognize her from 1990's The Bronx Warrior. And I believe a movie I talked about a couple weeks ago. Ratman and A Blade in the Dark. Dardino Sacacci did the screenplay, has 97 screenplay credits, including Devilfish, the fairly famous A Bay of Blood, City of the Living Dead, Amityville 2.
Yeah.
And The New York Ripper. Truly one of the weirder films around. And Giorgio Maruzzo, who wrote Contraband, an incredibly disturbing film, Under the Sheets, and lots of Italian films. Stars Katrina McCoyle, who's got 2 films in post-production right now. She's in The Beyond, City of Living Dead, and Hawk the Slayer. Did you know there's a TV, Hawk the Slayer?
I did not.
Yeah, apparently. But Paolo Malco, who's a Thunder, The New York Ripper, The Sinful Nuns of St. Valentine, Escape from the Bronx, and Demons 3. Ania Peroni, who's in Tenebrae, Velvet Hands, and Inferno. So it's a who's who of Italian talent. So the movie kicks off with a weird subculture of people that appear to only be in movies, but I don't know, maybe they're in real life, who like to go into super creepy old houses and have sex.
I guarantee you that's a real
There's
thing.
a lot of them, yeah. probably know a lot of them. But it was the reason to get some sex and nudity in the movie because there really isn't any after this opening scene. And it kicks off with an amazing kill when they take the lady. I was like, yikes. This is definitely Fulci's. He's near the top of his game for this one. Because she's looking for Steve. She can't find Steve. I know his name is Steve. Jesus, man. But yeah, she gets a knife coming out to her mouth. Just to give you an idea of how wonderfully gruesome it is. But move forward a little while later. I don't know how much time. A young family's now moving into the same home. The kid says they should not go because the little girl in the photograph that he's got of the house in his room for some reason told him not to go.
I'd listen to her.
Yeah. So the mom's like, oh, all right, we'll be careful. So they go to the city, which is supposed to be like somewhere in New York. Hey, the little girl's wandering around the town. And the kid's left alone in his car, of course, because it's the 70s. He immediately jumps out and tries to go find her, and she leaves him with this large, creepy-ass doll, which never really comes into play, but it was creepy. Strange scene where this little girl is standing in front of a shop window, and suddenly the shop window mannequin sort of turns into somebody you see later on in the movie and gets head cut off, and it's really brutal and bloody. I'm like, oh, what? Okay. Is this a ghost? Is this a real person? Who is this little girl? When they get to the house, Lucy, the mom, is not so sure of what's going on. But of course, Norman is ready to go. What he's researching, no clue at this point. He seems to be there more to fix up the house, at least for the first 10 minutes of the movie. She doesn't like that. And Norman tells her he needs to take her drugs, to get settled. She's not sure she wants to take them because they cause hallucinations. And I'm going, oh, well, I wonder how that'll come back in the movie. Not at all.
Oh, what?
Now the babysitter has arrived. And of course, she's an Italian, dark hair, blue-eyed kind of guy, lady, and looks all sultry, but nothing really comes from that. There's not going to be a babysitter going after the husband thing in this movie. Nope. But she's weird. The first thing she does is start unboarding the door to the basement. Why is she doing that? That we will learn. No one really seems to know what's going on in the film or what people are up to. So as a watcher, you don't know what's going on. I don't know if that's good or bad, but that's okay. While cleaning the house, Lucy finds that the previous owner of the house, or the original owner of the house, is buried in the house, not in the basement, in the living room.
Oh, cool.
She pulls off this carpet and there's like a outline of a coffin with the guy's name on it. But according to the husband, that's normal. It's not a problem. The ground gets frozen around here, so people would just bury their loved ones in their houses. I don't think that's true.
God forbid a frozen ground burial.
It's a cliche for a reason, you guys.
This does have Fulci's amazing look. There are some phenomenal shots in this movie, like this completely normal shot of him putting the key in and trying to unlock the basement door, and the locking mechanism coming like unrusted. And it's like, this is such a cool, well-constructed shot. Why couldn't you put that much care into your writing? There is a lot of shots like that. Just phenomenal, cool shit. That's where Fulci got his stuff. Shots and his violence. So they go into the basement. What do they find? A really big bat, but not much else. This is one of the smart parts of the entire movie, where we were just talking about the movie you were talking about. Shit goes weird. A couple weird things happen. This bat is an incredibly violent scene where the bat bites the guy's hand and he stabs it and it suddenly starts bleeding from 4 different other parts of the bat body. I'm like, wow. What do they do after this happens? They all immediately go to the real estate agent and say, we want to move out of this house. Like, all right.
Finally, some logic.
That's a first. Until 2 or 3 scenes later, and they seem absolutely uninterested in leaving, and nothing's happened because of it. It does lead to the real estate agent coming back to the house in a stunningly disturbing, violent kill. And the interview guy was talking about that. It's like, yeah, when I first saw this movie in England, it had been trimmed, and it was really disturbing, but it was only like 3 or 4 seconds long, maybe 6 at most. And then I saw this on home video where they had the entire thing, and it's a really long kill, or it's like pulls things down, stabs her again, and pulls it out, and it's like, it's really, really fucking gruesome, even by Fulci standards. The next morning, the lady is there cleaning up this giant blood spread where the real estate agent had been dragged down the stairs. And it's this huge thing. It's probably 3 feet long, about a foot wide. She's down there cleaning it up. And the lady of the house walks in and goes, "Hey, what you doing?" "Making coffee." "Okay." You figure out a little bit later that he's actually researching. This guy is apparently buried in the living room, and he goes to the library, which is the same library used in The Beyond. You learn all about that. I would attempt to describe the rest of the film, but that is pointless. The movie's insane. You find out what's in the basement, and it's not really a huge mystery, but it's gruesome and weird, and lots of threatens to killing a child. So you'd enjoy that, Kelly.
You love my child endangerment.
The effects and the blood are all done well. It's Fulci. I mean, what are you going to do? It's good Fulci though, and so much better than I think the Nuns one I talked about a few months back. But it was enjoyable. So I would say see it. It's Fulci, so it's everywhere. It's probably easy to find. I'd imagine it's for rent on all kinds of formats. I was watching the Blue Underground Blu-ray release. They did a good job. Hey, how about some taglines?
Ooh.
"Beware the demon forces of the blood beasts. Past and present collide in a vortex of fear. Can anyone survive the demented marauding zombies in? Read the fine print. You may have just mortgaged your life."
Oh, wow.
I kind of like that one.
That's solid.
So this is considered the third part of Fulci's Gates of Hell trilogy, including City of the Living Dead and The Beyond. There's some solid music in this movie, actually, at least at times. There's this really great Italian goblin style stuff, and then there's just this really awful orchestrated weird music. It's like, do they have multiple people doing that? It's all the same person. What you gonna do? The musician, he also did the music for Flying Sex, I'm for the Hippopotamus, and 1990 The Bronx Warriors. One of the early VHS releases of this, and I can't imagine trying to watch this movie on this. The reels were out of order when they mastered the VHS. So people would die and then appear later on again in the movie as being alive and all kinds of stuff. So it's a really confusing, strange story as it is. Became impossible to understand that way. Shot mainly in English, but it was overdubbed in post anyways. So you can tell at points when you're watching it, oh, they're speaking English there. Overdub still sounds shitty. So I went and I'm going, well, let's see what the subtitles sound like. Overdub the Italian too. So just watch it in English, because there's no I've got to watch the Italian version because it's got the best audio. It all kind of sucks. 14 crew members worked on this and The Beyond, because they were shot really close together. In the end credits, there's a quote, "No one will ever know whether children are monsters or monsters are children." Credited to Henry James, who never said that.
That's so good.
I just made it up because it fit the movie. Katrina McCall, the lead woman, appeared in 3 Fulci films in a row, but decided to pass on the New York Ripper, which is a really good call on her part. Shot in the U.S. and then went back to Italy for all post-production. This is one of 3 films Fulci released in 1 year.
Jeez.
The Beyond, House by the Cemetery, and City of the Living Dead all came out within a year's time. And there's a recent film, We Are Still Here, was heavily influenced by this film. So this was a fun watch. It was weird and strange.
A couple of weeks ago, you had a cemetery graveyard, and I decided, well, I'm watching House by the Cemetery. And I made it about 20 minutes in, and I was like, snooze.
I'm also kind of surprised. So I've seen this movie a couple of times. Did the little boy's voice not bug the crap out of you?
I always thought it was hilarious. These are not movies I sit and go, well, I'm watching Citizen Kane. It should be great in every way. Oh, he was dubbed by a 20-year-old woman.
That makes a lot.
So
of
it was
sense.
terrible. His voice was just. And if I can make it through that screaming little shit in Babadook, there are really no child actors that are more annoying. I mean, granted, once you know what's going on in the movie, he was totally justified in what he was doing. He's a great character, but he was really annoying. And that kid at that age was in like 6 or 7 Italian films. He's all over the place. But hopefully he did not speak English at all.
Yeah.
The 2 little kids in it had to be
fully dubbed.
Yeah, fully dubbed. And
yeah. The weird thing about at least this Fulci film, I think all the Fulci films I've seen, is there's so much weird random shit that happens that when I think of House by the Cemetery, I think that's the bit with that coffin, and I think there was a real estate agent, and I think they were in New York, and I think there was a painting, but like it's all so disparate and random that's like, wait, is that the one with that and then the weird ending of this thing? And yeah, very, very strange filmmaker.
Yes.
Okay, well, I chose for mine, first time watch from 2012, The Collection.
Where is this place anyway?
It's right up here.
With over 50 people still missing, grieving families are seeking answers.
I'm working for a man whose daughter's gone missing. She's all I have. Find her. Was she alive? Last time I saw her. I got 48 hours before she's dead.
You're gonna find this guy, you gotta start at the beginning. You better be prepared. Bring everything you got. Because if he catches you, he's gonna make you wish you were dead.
You gotta help us find Elena. You're the only person to see the inside of this hotel and live.
It's built like a maze, and the whole place is rigged. He's picking us off. One by one.
Either of you guys?
No.
I'm not.
Have you seen? This is the sequel to The Collector.
I've seen The Collector. I don't remember if I watched the.
Okay, I cheated a little bit. I probably should have done The Collector, but I'll circle around and tell you about it the way I did because I watched this movie first, and then I liked it so much I decided to watch the first movie.
Ah, okay.
Nice.
Budget of $10 million. It's going to break your heart. Box office of $9.9 million.
Oh, no. That's so sad.
The Rotten Tomatoes critics give it 36%, and the audience gives it 49%. It was directed by Marcus Dunstan. Does that name ring a bell, Eric?
Dunstan checks in.
Mm-hmm. He directed the movie Pilgrim, which was one of the Hulu Into the Dark, and he also has a movie coming out called Unhuman. It was written by Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton. The reason you would know these two guys is back when Project Greenlight did their horror season, these guys wrote Feast.
Ah, okay. And I wish they'd released that one. You can't watch. That's the only season of Project Greenlight you can't watch, and it's the best season.
Together, they have written all of the Feast movies, The Collector, which is the first one, and Saw 4, 5, and 6. It is starring Josh Stewart, who was in The Dark Knight Rises, Interstellar, and Insidious: The Last Key. It also has Lee Tergesen in it, who was in Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Beginning. He was in the Daredevil series and the Watchmen series. And Emma Fitzpatrick, who was in Time, Blood-Sucking Bastards, and Take Back the Night. And then a cast of a bunch of other people, including Andre Royo, Shannon Kane, Christopher McDonald, who was Shooter McGavin in what was that? Happy Gilmore.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a really crazy story. The reason I decided to go with this is based on the first 5 minutes of this film. I hadn't seen the first one. Does not matter. This movie opens hard at a rave in an old building where everyone is dancing, having a great time. They've got the glow sticks going and and all of a sudden these huge thresher blades drop from the ceiling and literally start mowing people down. They just slide across the room and mow everybody down.
Whoa.
Cut them into huge chunks.
Oh my God.
And it is fucking spectacular. It is right up there with the opening of Ghost Ship, which is the only reason to watch that movie.
Yeah.
This is not the only reason to watch this movie, in my opinion. I had a lot of fun with this. So there's a bunch of people who are trying to escape and everything. But as they're running through the various halls of this building they're in, all of these various traps start being sprung. And this one girl who we're going to find out is kind of our lead. She comes running into this room and there is this big, huge trunk in the middle of the room. And she's like, what the fuck? And it kind of jiggles. So she's, oh shit. So she opens it up and this guy falls out, barely alive. And this is our real hero of the film. His name is Arkin. and he's from the first film, but I didn't know this.
Oh, sure.
So they take off and he actually escapes the building from the second floor. He crashes through this window, but just as she's about to come out, she is suddenly grabbed away from him and she gets thrown in this trunk and then, credits start rolling. And so this is apparently the collector's MO. He kills everybody and he always takes one person, he kidnaps them for the next movie, I guess, to torture and all this shit. So at the hospital, Arkin is arrested by the police and put under surveillance because I didn't know this, but in the first movie, he is a criminal. He's got a criminal record. He's a house thief, or he's like a second story man, he's the best in the business. And he is approached by this dude who is the right-hand man of the woman who got snagged back in, her father. And this guy has hired a team of mercenaries to hunt this guy, the collector, down, who is apparently a known serial killer. And the police are just like, oh shit, it's the collector. This guy's bad news, right? Her dad feels like, with these mercenaries and this guy Arkin, who apparently knows about him from the first movie, which I had not seen, that Arkin can kind of lead them to where this guy's going to be. So, and if he does this, he's going to say, look, I'll make sure that your criminal record is expunged. You won't have to worry about anything. So he's able to lead the mercenary group to the collector's base, which is this abandoned hotel in a desolate part of town. This is where I realized, this isn't going to quite work. It's not a house. It's a hotel. But I did go and watch the original after this, which is a house. So we'll get to it. Just so that I fall into the rules.
Hell of a way to get around that rule.
Mm-hmm. Listen, it's snow in the tall grass, but I think that you guys will like this. So he leads him to this hotel and then he's like, hey, I did my job. I'll see you guys later. They're like, fuck you will. You're coming in here with us. And he's like, motherfucker, this guy is bad and I do not want to deal with him again. But they take him by gunpoint into the hotel and he has to lead them through. So meanwhile, Elena, the daughter, she has used somehow her bra to push a hole through the trunk and unlatch the trunk thing so that she can get out.
Those underwires are serious business.
Well, and what I like about this is you're already rooting for her because she's jammed in a trunk and she's figuring, I'm out of here. Fuck this guy. So these are what we want in our heroes. They're, they know what they're doing. So she grips the latch. She escapes from the inside, and she is almost again captured by the collector, who has like come into the room and seen this. This trunk is open, and his room is like a nightmarish surgery room. There's somebody on a slab who's been cut into all these weird little chunks. You can still tell they're kind of assembled to look like a human. And he knows that she has escaped somewhere in the room, and he kind of knows where she is. So he opens up all these jars of tarantulas, and they start walking all over her. Now, tarantulas, not deadly or anything like that. Still, this looks like a very live scene that was shot. She's standing there she's hiding there with a tarantula crawling across her face. At one point, it puts what is that, foot?
Yeah.
Its leg in her mouth as it's walking past. And she has to just sit there silently while it's doing it. And I'm just like, nope, I would have been killed by this time. Before he can do anything, he hears this alarm go off that tells him, oh, there's somebody in my hotel. Also, the collector, he is wearing this pretty creepy looking mask that covers his face and laces up on the back. And it really kind of reminded me of the button face mask in Nightbreed. So it's very creepy looking. But he's also got something going on with his eyes. They catch the light like a dog's eyes does in the dark. And so you're like, what is he? So there's something going on with him. He's very creepy, and you never get to see him without the mask. Even when he's not wearing the mask, the way they shoot it, you never get to see him. So they're doing this pretty cool. So upon entering the hotel, the team is then attacked by these people that the collector has been experimenting on. They've got half face masks stapled onto their faces. He has captured them and then like turned them into these weird druggies by just pumping them full of drugs constantly and driven them completely insane to the point where they are kind of they act like zombies and they react like zombies. So they're trying to kill our guys and everything. And it's kind of a neat little mini zombie scene in the middle of this not zombie movie. So I enjoyed it thoroughly. So at this point, the team breaks up, and the movie then starts kind of following three storylines. Elena, the daughter, she's trying to find the exit of this place. Arkin is trying to escape all of it because he knows what's coming next. And the mercenary team, who are trying to find Elena. And so while wandering the hotel, all three encounter these live humans who are being experimented upon, and human body parts rearranged to resemble insects. The collector collects bodies and then like dissects them and pins them and everything, and they're in these huge tanks of water. Makes no sense. Water would not be a good way to store human bodies, but they need to be in water for the end of the film. But the crazy thing about this place is that the entire building is wired with just the craziest fucking booby traps, So you'll be walking and it's never like, I stepped on a button and here comes something. You step on a blade that's sticking out of the ground and you're like, oh fuck, and you're kind of stuck there, and then some big huge claw comes slamming down on your head from above. It's super gory stuff, and it's all very Saw kind of related stuff. I don't know. I was having a good time with it. So eventually Arkin finds Elena, and then they meet up with the last of the mercenaries, and the three of them have to try to escape this fucking house that's full of weird dead bodies, weird still living bodies that are trying to attack them. And every fucking thing is a trap in this place. I was having just a fucking great time with this movie, so much that I was like, I definitely have to watch the first movie. So I'm not going to tell you how this ends, but I will say that it was really satisfying, but it became more satisfying when I then went and watched the first movie. So in the first movie is like fucking intense because Arkin has been hired to get into this house and rob them of this like amazing ruby or something that they've got in a wall safe. And he's one of these guys that can pick every lock. And when he gets to the safe, he can, he's got the little headphones on and he's doing all this stuff, but he thinks there's nobody in the house. And when when he's got the headphones on and he's doing these things, he keeps hearing like sounds like somebody's walking, stuff like this. So he he realizes that the collector, who is this weird serial killer, has come into this house prior to him being there, maybe days before, and he has captured this family and he has them in the basement in all of these horrible torture things. But he has now booby trapped their entire house with all of these crazy booby traps. And the main part of this movie is that the collector, he keeps thinking he's hearing somebody else in the house. Arkin has figured out that he's now trapped in this house, and then he comes across the people who are like, oh my God, please save us. And so he and the collector are like doing Scooby-Doo shit where they're walking into doors just before the other one comes around another thing, and you're just like, oh shit, he's going to eventually get caught, and he's avoiding these traps because he's super smart. So he's seen, he'll look at it and he'll be like, what is this piece of filament doing here? And so he'll step over that, but then he'll see, oh, if I had hit that, the chandelier has, a ton of butcher knives pointing right down, and it will drop on whoever's going to walk in.
Oh my gosh.
And then to up the ante on that, there is a little girl in the house that the collector hasn't found. So he's promised the dad downstairs that, okay, I'll get the girl out if you tell me where the gun is and all this stuff. So it is super, super good. And I would have picked that as my movie since it actually falls into the house thing. But that fucking Thresher scene at the beginning of the collection, I was like, there's no way I'm not talking about this.
Oh my gosh.
The way that the collector ends is that you think that Arkin has won because he's gotten out of the house, gotten the little girl out and everything, and he's got the jewel that he came to rob, and the ambulance has him. And at one point while he was in the house, he found that big red trunk and pulled it open, and there was somebody half dead in there, right? So they set up this thing. At the very end of the collector, he's in the ambulance, and it suddenly gets rammed from behind, and here's the collector again, and he pulls Arkin out and throws him in a big red trunk and throws him in the back of his van, and that's the end of the movie.
Oh my God.
So I loved that he's in the trunk at the beginning of the collection, and that makes the end of the collection super satisfying when you know this trunk is what it is. So
interesting.
Yeah, I had a blast with both of these movies. And this is not my kind of stuff. I'm not into the gore fest, especially the Saw stuff, but I don't know why. I was really liking this guy. This guy, Arkin, I found him very compelling and super watchable.
Yeah.
And he's got, I'm a sucker for the criminal with a heart of gold kind of thing, and, the conscience and all this stuff. So,
yeah, I watched this because I think only the first one was out at the point I saw it. Was because Josh Stewart was like a guest at Crypticon or something, and that was his new movie at the time. I figured I'll go check that out.
He was a guest at Crypticon?
Yeah.
Huh.
What year did this come out?
This was 2012, and I think it was 2009 for The Collector.
Yeah, it was probably about that time, a couple years
So
after.
I have got just a few things of trivia, but you'll both enjoy this. The hotel that this takes place in is called the Hotel Argento.
Wow. Jeez.
The third movie is a sequel titled The Collected, was announced to be in development in May 2019. In October that year, production was mysteriously halted after only 8 days of shooting and never progressed. As a result, several props from the shooting set were stolen. In 2021, screenwriters Marcus Dunstan and Patrick Melton confirmed that a sequel will not be happening due to creative disinterest between them and the producers. I've never heard that term before.
Weird.
Disinterest.
Yes.
Wow.
Just don't want to make it.
However, Dunstan and Melton shared some behind-the-scenes photos of the abandoned project in May 2021. I also saw something about a bunch of stuff was stolen from the set. So they shut down for whatever reason. Then, of course, COVID hit, so they had to shut down. And then when they finally kind of went back, there were a bunch of things missing. So they were like, oh, man. And then Marcus and Patrick were kind of like, we don't we don't own this, so we can't really just go forward and start it again. So maybe that's the creative disinterest thing.
Mm.
And then finally, there is a cameo by John Gulager. If you look closely at the police who are arresting Arkin in the hospital, one of them is John Gulager, who was the man who directed Feast. So they're all on good terms, it seems, and that made me happy. This Unhuman movie that Marcus Dunstan is directing is coming out this year, and he and Patrick Melton wrote it. So I just love that they're like, look, let's just keep this train rolling.
Yeah, that's good.
That's awesome.
Yeah. The Collection, 2012.
I think the thing that makes it sound more interesting, because I also hate, the Saw series and sort of just like torture porn in general. It sounds like characters who are interesting and that you root for, as opposed to horrible human beings who they're justifying the gruesome torture and deaths of because they're terrible human beings.
Yeah, and this falls into the trap of the mercenary team is very much
they're probably fodder, right?
The aliens Marines, So there's the tough chick, and then there's the guy who's a little scared, and all of that stuff, and they get caught pretty quickly and killed pretty quickly. So
yeah, they have bodies to throw at it.
Gotta up that body count. Equal time.
I don't know, man. After that Thresher mowing down hundreds of people in the raid,
that is crazy.
You gotta be. Listen, you're on ecstasy. You're having a grand time. The music's thumping and all this, and then you just start seeing these huge lawnmower blades drop from the ceiling, and across the room, you're watching everybody get cut into pieces, and you got to be going, "This is some crazy shit."
Yeah.
Buzzkill.
I think I would probably be in one of those moments going, yeah, all right. If I gotta go, that's fine. I had a good night.
Well, I mean, I'm more like, I don't like this ecstasy. This is a bad trip.
I don't like where this is taking me.
Right. Because you wouldn't be believing that there's lawnmower blades coming down.
Probably not.
Yeah.
One time, one guy falls down and he gets just low enough to be under the blades, but he puts his hand up because he's scared and it cuts off his fingers. And those are the things that always bother me because he's still alive, but he lost his fingers.
Yep.
And that was a pretty good scene where somebody gets crushed by this. I don't know what it would be used for. It's the same thing. You don't understand why at the end of Terminator, when she lures him, the skeleton thing, under that big crushing thing, you're like, what is that possibly ever used for? Well, there's one of those in this guy's hotel, and he uses it on a girl. I'm like, okay. What do you need something that crushes something very slowly for?
We all need that in our lives.
Slow motion YouTube videos.
I don't know. Had a good time with it. Okay. So that means this is a time where we thank everybody for liking, sharing posts.
Being awesome.
Yes, especially for participating in the Value for Value model, which Micah did again.
Yes, thank you so much.
He asked for a specific genre, which we're going to use as my pick.
Yes.
But I don't remember exactly what it was. I know it's Italian.
Italian films. I think 80s Italian films.
I think he said 80s, yeah.
80s Italian films. Giallo, I think he mentioned as well, but just general.
He was even okay with the rip-offs and all that, and that's my
I think he
jam.
loves the rip-offs.
Yep.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know if I could find any.
Yeah, you've already gone through the entire Bruno Mattei.
Severin and things like that. I don't know, man.
I was like, you're ready to rock and roll. You can probably do 5 of them right now.
Great choices, yes.
I'm really looking forward to this one because any chance to watch a bad movie, because I always feel a little guilty watching a bad movie when there's so many good movies I still need to watch. But this gives me a fantastic chance to do that. And Micah, for that, I thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you.
So that's it, guys. Thanks again, everybody listening and all that stuff. And we're going to be coming back in 1 week and we're talking. I can't wait to say their names of the films too. The Bruno Mattei.
Hey, I did him just a couple weeks ago.
I know you did. All right, we'll be back in a week. We're talking Italian schlock 80s films. Strange Eons Radio is artisanal quality podcasting, handcrafted with all natural ingredients, and edited to perfection by Eric Margaret. Our blistering theme song is Strange Eons Part 1 by the band Nightshade and is used with permission. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you enjoyed this episode, please consider dropping a positive review on Apple Podcasts.
Just put a sticker on the front. Guns, guns, guns.